We're going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner. I got to go bold, right? I got to go bold for this.
Yeah, she's got some nice.
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron. Make sure to like and subscribe out there on YouTube. And also, always rate that show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast. What is going on, Bears fans? Today, we're going to be breaking down the Chicago Bears versus the Houston Texans. What is good out there? Shy Drax, my friend. What is good? I see you're already starting to use some of those awesome Bears emojis that you got out there, or the Bears icons. If there's any that you want, let me know, and I can start adding some of those for you. I definitely appreciate you being a member out there as well. I like the C next to your name, too. Looks pretty darn good. So I hope you're doing well, my friend. But today, we got to break down the Chicago Bears versus the Houston Texans. Can we pull off the upset, or what would it take to pull off an upset? So that is the thing that we're going to be breaking down today. So as we always do, we're going to talk about the injury report. We're going to talk about the Houston Texans, then who they added, who they lost, but then also talk about the defense, the offense, break all those down, talk about some potential X factors and other players that we're going to be looking at, break down the special teams, over-unders, who has the edge, and last but not least, our predictions. So we'll see what's up there. And Tommy Jiggles, what is good, my friend? Hope you're doing well. And Shy Drax, that would actually be really funny. A Brad icon. That's a good idea. I gotta think about what type of face I'll be making. But yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. If you're since you're paying for it, for the membership, yeah, I can get you a Brad icon. And Joe, my friend, hope you're doing well as well. But let's break this down. Let's talk a little bit about the injury report and get into this, shall we? So the Bears injury report is quite fun, right? Quite fun in a very sarcastic way. We got Keenan Allen did not participate today or yesterday, but he was on the bikes. Take that for what you may, right? So it's a heel injury, so that's why when he's on the bikes, yeah, not really too affected. Then Karan Amagaji limited today and yesterday. Ryan Bates did not participate today, so does that mean that we're going to see more Nate Davis rather than a Ryan Bates? Something to definitely just keep an eye out for to see what happens on Friday. Also, Kari Blasingame did not participate today as well, but was limited yesterday. Mercedes Lewis is old, so he had the day off. And then Odunze did not participate today or yesterday, but is also considered, according to Brad Biggs, day-to-day, not week-to-week. But also Zach Pickens, full participant today in practice, which is a really good sign, which we'll get into later. But also DeMarcus Walker didn't participate on Wednesday, but limited participant on Thursday. So a couple things that I want to throw out there. A couple little nuggets. First off, Zach Pickens being a full participant today is actually kind of a big deal, because depending on your whole situation at wide receiver, you probably want to call Colin Johnson most likely up from the practice squad and onto your active roster. Now you can only call up 2 players, and the Bears are going to call up their long snapper and one other player. And last week they called up Byron Cowart as the 4th defensive tackle. So now with Zach Pickens hopefully being able to go, now you can call up Colin Johnson. Now you can call up a wide receiver rather than having to just call up a defensive tackle. So just a low-key injury that's actually kind of nice to get Zach Pickens back. But also, we have to talk about Odunze and his knee injury. Now, I did see this posted out there from, I believe, Mason West. He runs a podcast called Bears Bones. He's a physical therapist. Like, he knows his stuff. If you want injury coverage, he's the guy. And he was breaking it down, and I saw a little bit, like just one of his little messages that he had out there on Twitter, and just kind of pointed out that this is going to be a painful injury. Like, that's the biggest thing with this, is more so the pain of it. So this is where I also miss having Johnny PayPal here. He knew a lot more about the medical side. That it seems like Odunze's injury, the thing that might be calling him back is more so an injury rather than potentially aggravating it or making things worse. So still, to me, I just get hesitant about playing a rookie wide receiver in this situation, especially since you also had and I just get hesitant about that. And then also with Keenan Allen with the heel injury, what's going on with that? Maybe I'm hoping he's just a veteran and he'll be able to come on back. So we'll see. But also, Philip, my friend, what is good? Bear down to you as well. Shy Jack saying he hears Houston is weak against the run. Oh, yeah, we got a couple little things that we'll be breaking down with that as well, about the whole the whole game versus the Indianapolis Colts, because there's a couple interesting nuggets that we're going to talk about with that game too. Let's get into also I'm looking through, no one really else. I mean, Kari Blasingame is something to at least be interested in. Kari Blasingame didn't really have a good year overall. I mean, it didn't have a good game yesterday, or on Sunday, sorry. Words are hard sometimes. But overall, I think Kari Blasingame, if he's able to play or not, I don't think it's a huge burden just because you do have Mercedes Lewis. So I do feel comfortable about some of the tight ends that you have out there. But let's flip over to the Houston Texans. So with the Houston Texans, first off, they're already going to win because look at this injury report. This is for those that watch the YouTube show, I always have other people's injury reports out there that are posted by the team. And look at this. It's beautiful. Normally other teams just have a copy and paste from Excel or something. They actually have a legitimate injury report. They might have went a little too overboard with it if I'm being critiquing it, but still, it's a pretty nice injury report. But this kind of shows just how many injuries the Bears do have compared to other teams. Because you look at this, Nico Collins was limited with an illness. Dameon Pierce limited with a hamstring. The only one that seems like maybe they might not play is Dalton Schultz, who did not participate today and yesterday. And the other person, MJ Stewart, did not participate today or yesterday. And Juice Scruggs, their starting center, was limited. So really the big person to watch out for is Dalton Schultz. And when we break down their offense, we'll kind of talk a little bit about who they actually have in. Dalton Schultz is good for sure, but they have a lot of other weapons that they can be throwing the football to for sure. So let's get into more of the Houston Texans as well to talk about who they added and also who they lost. So in free agency, they lost Devin Singletary, their tackles, George Fant and Josh Jones, also interior offensive lineman Scott Quessenberry and Michael Dieter at the guard position, defensive end Jonathan Grenard, Jerry Hughes, who actually came back. So this isn't super up to date. Then Malik Collins, Sheldon Rankins, Tyir Tart on the defensive tackle spot. So big losses at the D tackle position, which we will be calling out a little bit later. Linebackers, Blake Cashman and Denzel Perryman. Big losses at the linebacker position. And then corners, Steven Nelson and Tyir Thomas. And safeties, Adrian Amos and DeAndre Houston Carson, both from previously of the Chicago Bears, and Kareem Jackson. But their additions, Joe Mixon, Stephon Diggs. So some pretty big name free agents, but also defensive ends, Daniil Hunter, and also they added in Danico Autry, Mario Edwards, another former Bear, Tim Settle, and Fali Fadukasi, and also linebacker Aziz Al-Shair, and then corners Miles Bryant, CJ Henderson, and Jeff Okudah. So this is the thing, right? They made some pretty big additions, but then the other ones, not so much kind of in the middle. So when you're looking about who they lost, I think that a Daniil Hunter is an upgrade over Jonathan Grenard. I think that that's a big upgrade, and Joe Mixon is better than Devin Singletary. Devin Singletary, the epitome of getting under 4 yards a carry. And then also Stephon Diggs, clear upgrades there as well. So that's who they were able to add. And then in the draft, they did not have a first-round pick, but were able to come away with Kamari Lassiter, cornerback from Georgia, and Blake Fisher, offensive tackle from Notre Dame, as kind of that backup swing tackle. Other players too, one of our favorite players in the draft, Cade Stover in the 4th round, just a good solid tight end like we've talked about. And then Kalen Bullock, another person that I liked out of USC, 3rd round. And I believe that his PFF grade was somewhere in the 90s last week in limited targets, but he's just a rangy, speedy safety, which we'll be talking about their safety position a little bit later. So let's get into these previews, shall we? And also, just in time, Broski Bear, what is good, my friend? Hope you are doing well out there. So let's get into the actual preview for the Houston Texans. So a little bit more that I could tell you about the Houston Texans. First off, the Houston Texans, according to DVOA, are the 9th overall team, 8th in defensive or 8th in offensive DVOA, and 13th in defensive DVOA. So a pretty all-around good team. Also, ESPN's FPI has them ranked as the 7th. So all that you need to know, this is a top 10 team in the league. I think we already knew that, but just the numbers back it up. And if you're curious where we rank, we did talk about it with the analytics episode, but Bears are the 18th according to Football Outsiders DVOA, with the 28th offense and the 7th defense. Also, ESPN's FPI rankings has us as 22nd. So yet again, middle of the range, and rightfully so with the way that the offense played. Another reason why also I always want to say Football Outsiders, they were the original inventors of DVOA, but DVOA, the reason why they're also lower on the Bears when it comes down to offense is because rookie quarterbacks just typically don't play well their rookie season. So that's a big reason why they're also kind of quote unquote haters against the Bears offense as well, is mainly because of that. So let's get in though into this defensive preview for the Bears defense versus this offense for the Houston Texans. Last week for the Houston Texans, this offense ended up doing pretty well. Like nothing amazing, but just okay. CJ Stroud, 234 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Was sacked though 8 times. Still had a quarterback rating of 115. Pretty darn nice. Also, Joe Mixon, 159 rushing yards on 30 carries, an average of 5.3 yards a carry. Dameon Pierce, only 3 carries. CJ Stroud, 4. And Tank Dell even got in the mix with 2, and Stephon Diggs with 1. What this shows, it shows that Joe Mixon is the bell cow running back. We already knew this, but Joe Mixon, they added him for a reason. They wanted a running back that they can truly run the ball with. And Shane Steichen, their offensive coordinator, loves to get the run established and really just pound the rock down your throat. Also last week as well, Texans ran on 48.7% of passes on plays and passed on 51.3% of plays as well. Also, this is going to be the biggest quarterback test that the Bears have faced in quite some time. CJ Stroud, when you look at the numbers, when pressured and when not under pressure, he still had an above 100 QB rating. He's really good. He's a really good quarterback, ladies and gentlemen. So whether you're pressuring him, whether you're in his face, he's going to make the throw. He's going to be a smart quarterback out there. This is going to be a big test for the Bears. But also, when you look at their line is pretty darn good too. They ranked 5th in pass block win rate at 72% and 7th in run block win rate at 75%. So overall, this line is good. Juice Scruggs, good center. Green is a good left guard that's had some injuries plagued seasons. Now it seems like he's finally kind of getting it together. Larry Mutunzel, still one of the best left tackles in the league. And also Shaq Mason, a very good right guard. Titus Howard at the right tackle position is the biggest question mark. He's still a good tackle, but it still seems like every now and again, he'll kind of have some flubs, kind of have some bad games, and can be somebody that I actually heard someone from Houston saying, that's the person to target, that's the person, because that is the weak link, as people are calling him on this line. But I'll tell you, I wish that we had someone like Titus Howard to say, that is our weak link on this offensive line, because this line is pretty darn good, especially since Darrell Taylor might have had an amazing game. He might not be so lucky to be double teamed at only 5% of his snaps like he did last week. So that is definitely something to just keep an eye out for. But speaking of just offensive line, let's get into some of these matchups and talk about how this can affect the run. Because if we flip over to the Bears defensive line, you can see just how well PFF really liked this team. DeMarcus Walker, the 16th highest graded edge defender last week, and Taylor being the 13th highest edge defender last week, and Javon Dexter, 25th highest ranked defensive tackle. I don't have Billings out here, but I can tell you he was also high. Montez Sweat being the 69th, nice defensive end in the league. So Montez Sweat, he's been battling an injury. Hopefully he can kind of come back to what Sweat has looked like. But also too, last week, they were also trying to chip him. They were trying to get after him. They're trying to get into his face. So hopefully Sweat, because he will be the one that's going against Titus Howard. Now he needs to come up big and try to kind of push that pile. But also, Joe Mixon is going to be running the football. They're going to be running this. They're going to be saying, Bears, you got to stop us. And to me, that is the story of this game. That to me is going to be the big thing that the Bears have to do. They want to make sure that they can run the ball so that they can, and to essentially establish the play action pass, which for the analytics nerds out there, there is some debate on whether that actually does matter. But in this case, we're saying it does. So being able to truly get that run game going and then have, because they want to have the run game and the play action pass. So to me, that's number one. Tremaine Edmunds, you can't be getting bullied out there. You can't be getting pushed around like he did last week. He needs to stand strong, and we need to just play our assignments and get the ball carrier down. You know that they're going to be having their three wideouts out there, so it's really going to be up to Edwards and Edmunds to truly stop this running game. And that to me is actually the biggest key for this game, is actually that, because that is going to be what takes everything else over. So that's my feeling overall. I see Shy Drax out there with Taylor. Yeah, that is going to be the big thing for sure. And Broshy's saying too, Houston can be had, but Bears need Keenan Allen to play since Odunze is out. Yeah, Odunze, I think if we're talking about the wide receivers, my biggest guess is that I could see Odunze being the one that's out, because Keenan Allen is always injured. Keenan Allen's always banged up. I could see Odunze being the one that they definitely kind of keep out more so, while Allen nursing back from that heel injury, they're probably like, listen, you already know what you're doing. Just don't get hurt anymore. So running game, we'll talk about who has the edge later on. We'll kind of do that as like a bow on top, but they need to stop that. They need to stop the run. But yet again, you look at the weapons that they have as well. Nico Collins, someone who I wasn't believing the hype. Then I watched the game last week and I was like, okay, Nico Collins is pretty freaking good. It reminds me of Allen Robinson when Allen Robinson was on the Jags. I was like, how good is Allen Robinson? Then I watched him. I'm like, okay, he's good. Tank Dell kind of still coming back from his injury. PFF didn't love him, gave him a 62 grade, but still, he's still dangerous. He's still going to be somebody that you have to keep an eye out for. And also Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs most likely is going to be playing out at that slot position. Him and Dell kind of swapping out with that. They have different styles of wide receivers. And also Dalton Schultz, good tight end in this league. I don't know why all of a sudden after Dallas, people were like, didn't want Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz, solid tight end. So you have Dalton Schultz. They also have Cade Stover. This offense just has weapons. This is the weapons that definitely competes with the Bears, and also a lot of people have above the Bears' weapons just because of the plethora of weapons that this offense has and the good offensive line. They're a good team. Just plain and simple, this is a good offense. And the secondary is going to have they're going to have their hands covered, because yet again, this is another week going against good wide receivers. Titans had no slouches at wide receiver, but I think that this is kind of like the uptick, right? The upgraded version of the Titans roster. This is that, right? This is truly that updated version of that, because you'd say Diggs is better than Calvin Ridley, arguably, then Collins is better than an injured DeAndre Hopkins, right? So I think overall, this is going to be tough. And I think that a big key for this is because last week they were talking about, I was hearing someone talk about CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud had a couple plays that could have been picked off and just simply weren't. He made mistakes, and Joe, you beat me to it right there. Simply put, they have to turn the ball over. They have to get the interceptions. They have to do something like that to then put the offense in a better situation. And I think about this as well. Jalen Johnson, if he can continue to be the number 1 rated corner, according to PFF at 92.3, that is going to be big. But also, too, Tyreek Stevenson, give the man some love. PFF's number 14 rated corner. We talked about the Stevenson resurgence. We talked about it on the analytics show. 33% completion when targeted. Crazy good. Kyler Gordon, still kind of looking for him to kind of take that step up. Slot can definitely be a little difficult. And I believe that PFF had him a little downgraded in the run defense, which still is actually one of his top little pieces. That could be a really great matchup too, because if he's going against a Stephon Diggs, who also can be a little bit of a diva, you might have a chance to stop the run right there. Something to definitely look out for. But ultimately, try to turn the ball over, try to stop the run. Those to me are the two big things, because you know that CJ Stroud is going to get his. You know he's going to do well. You know that they're going to be able to move the ball on you. That's going to be key, because whether or not they get a lot of pressure, like I've said, doesn't necessarily matter too much to CJ Stroud. Obviously, you'd rather have pressure than no pressure, but still, you need to make sure that you're covering. You need to make sure that you can take advantage of those mistakes and don't let up easy runs. That is the key piece to this defense taking it over. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about the matchup to watch. So I ask you people out there watching on YouTube land, let me know what matchup on the Bears defense versus the Texans offense that you think is the must-watch matchup. Because to me, I'm trying to think of this now, because Jalen is going to do his. I'm going to say Tremaine Edmonds versus Joe Mixon. That to me is going to be the biggest, because Joe Mixon, he can run out of the backfield. He can catch the ball. You need somebody that can keep up with him. You need somebody that can also step up big. And TJ Edwards, day in, day out, performs well. You know what he's going to do. And with Edmonds, if he can really kind of step up against him, that is the matchup to watch. Actually, the other one too should have been Sweat. That would have been a good one as well. Dang it. Actually, I'll switch it. Sweat versus Titus Howard. That's my matchup to watch. That's the one that we got to see. That's the thing that I'm going to kind of call out, because if Sweat can dominate that right end, good things will happen. That to me is that. But then my X factor. So my X factor on defense will be Tremaine Edmonds, because for all the same reasons that I just gave about stopping the run, I truly think that that's going to be the biggest piece. But also too, if they want to attack the middle of the field, we've said this and we've seen this during some of the training camp practices. Tremaine Edmonds is a tree in the middle, and hopefully up and then all of a sudden take that ball away. That is going to be the big thing. Joe's agreeing with me out there. Drax is agreeing with me out there as well. Yeah, that's got to be the big piece. That's got to be the piece. So for sure, that's the defense, though. That's the defense in a nutshell. Let's flip over to this offense, which I'll tell you a little bit about this Chicago Bears offense, because here's the thing. With, Sunday Night Football that this game's going to be getting played at? I haven't even mentioned that either. So yeah, this is Sunday Night Football. On Sunday Night Football, rookie quarterbacks since 2022 have actually been 12-4-1 in prime time. That actually might be with covering the spread. But they have been good. They have been very good in the primetime slot, crazy enough. But we have to talk about our quarterback, where I had a couple other extra little stats. He had 17% inaccurate passes, so not good, but also 33% of his throws were considered quote unquote busted. No, that's not a new slang term. Maybe it already is that I just don't know about, but busted means a -1 EPA throw that he ends up throwing. 33% was also the highest rate out of any quarterback. So what that means, just cut back on bad throws. Yet again, we said this. There was just bad mistakes from Caleb Williams, and all the data, the tape, everything backs it up, because that's what happened. You know, when you play bad, you play bad. That's what it is. So he needs some sort of a better play, But also, I want to call this out too. PFF still had Caleb as the highest graded rookie quarterback when it came down to passing the ball. His passing grade was higher than any other rookie by 9 points. So even though he had a bad game, they still liked what they saw out of his game more than a Bo Nix, and also from Jaden Daniels as well, believe it or not. But also too, with our offense, what did we do last week? Well, we ran it 38.2% of the time, and we passed it 61.8% of the time. Might be because we were down for a good portion, but at the same time too, I was looking back at my Shane Waldron video that I did, just kind of breaking that down, which I actually need to grab that entire list of concerns. But some of the concerns was in the red zone. Some of the concerns that we called out then too was also he doesn't run the ball enough. And also he calls screens at weird, quirky times. There was other things too that I was like, oh my gosh, this is literally everything that's happening right now. So I'll grab it for next episode. If it happens again, I'll be like, yo, this is something that we called before we even got him actually. It was some of the downsides of a Shane Waldron. But ultimately, the big thing to kind of tackle this defense let up 3 plays over 50 yards last week. This defense has always been historically able to kind of let up these big plays. But also, Caleb Williams, a 0% big time throw rate. So even though that we might want to be throwing it short, we might want to keep it safe, we might want to keep it basic, this is a defense that you need to beat in the air and try to take these big stabs with. They have been bad under DeMeco Ryans at covering the deep ball, covering the big play. The Bears need big plays in order to beat the Texans. They let the easy stuff, they excel with that. That's the stuff that they're going to be preventing and really shutting down. You have to be attacking them if you want to win. It's going to be a lot to ask of a rookie quarterback to do that in prime time, but if you want to win, that's the way that you have to do it. But let's flip over to their defense, where they have Will Anderson, who has the 17th highest win rate in all of the NFL, according to ESPN Analytics, but also Houston. If you look at their line, they were 24th in pass rush win rate and 32nd in run stop win rate. So what does that mean? It means you can run the ball. So all that being said, whatever we did last week, in order to beat the Texans, you have to do the opposite. You have to run the ball and you also have to pass it deep. So literally the exact opposite of what happened last week is really the whole piece overall. But also too, the one thing that I do want to call out too is that even though that they were able to give up a lot of running, even though that the stats say that, hey, their defensive line did not stop the run correctly, they still only allowed 3 yards per carry for Jonathan Taylor. So the big question, they were getting beat in the run game, but ultimately Jonathan Taylor was not picking up the yards, and also they were getting gashed on the ground with Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson was a big part of their run game. I still don't see Caleb Williams being a part of the run game, but if you want to go with just good old-fashioned football, you should try to establish the run game in this game. But let's see what y'all are saying out there too. So Vizzo Joe saying Kmet needs to be more in. Exactly. Especially with Gerald Everett taking majority of the snaps. But also Shy Jack saying, why did Caleb throw so poorly? Yeah, my whole thing is I'm one where a lot of interviews, I don't like to take a lot of stuff away from interviews with whatever someone says. Whenever someone says something like, I practice so hard, I'm the best version of myself. But also when Caleb Williams is like, I don't get nervous, right? He's got this confidence to him. He's got this swagger to him. And I agree with that. But man, those were the jitters. I know what the jitters look like. The man had the jitters. The man was just excited out there. And I think that's the thing where it's like you get jumpy, you then throw the ball away like that. And yeah, Ron, what's good, my friend? Claws up indeed. And saying Caleb was nervous. Yeah, he was. It was as simple as that. He was just very nervous. And it's just a different atmosphere. And there was an interview with Peter Skoronsky, ironically enough, someone that we played last week. And he was saying, they asked him, what's the biggest difference coming from college to the NFL? And do you know what he said? He said, he's like, the biggest difference is no one sucks. He's like in the NCAA, like in college, you can go against somebody and they can suck. Like they just can. You go against a bad team. You go against someone who's like a D2 school, a bad ranked school. You're going to go against some bad competition. Or you go against the starter. They might be a 7th round pick. And then you go against the backup, and the backup is going to do someone's taxes next year, right? Like that's who you're playing against in college. These guys are all freakishly good. Freakishly good. The speed is crazy. And all that can catch up to you if you're back there as quarterback. And also you're playing in front of the home stands. You already kind of could hear some boos coming out there from the Bears fans. We're a dangerous fan base. Like, right? We'll boo you. We'll go crazy over you. So I think that's ultimately why he was a little bit nervous. So Broski's saying too, it's better if you can use the pass to set up the run. That's another thing too. But also let's keep in mind too, like I said during the analytics show, the Bears had 10% of the run looks that they faced had loaded boxes. So that's something that to look out for. Like we didn't have people loading up in the box, but they were still able to stop us. But also, where can we run? Well, when we look at our offensive line, we know Braxton Jones, Tevin Jenkins. Hopefully Tevin Jenkins doesn't look terrible in the pass coverage anymore. Same thing goes to you, Coleman Shelton. But the big way that you can win is up the middle. When you look at their defensive tackles and you look at their entire line, their strength of this line is the defensive ends. With Hunter, with Anderson, their backups even, Barrett, and also Jerry Hughes, their strength is their defensive ends. On the inside, they're weak. They have Mario Edwards. Then they have just a slew of just backup caliber players. Yet again, I was listening to some Houston podcasts, Houston radio shows, and they're saying they're weak up the middle. If the Bears want to win, you run up the middle, you run up the gut, and you attack them that way. So, opposite game plan that we had last week. We got afraid, or Swift, or anybody got afraid. We weren't running it up the middle. We need to run it up the middle. Also, where these defensive ends play. Hunter will play on that left-hand side, which is over the right tackle, Darnell Wright, and also Anderson will play over Braxton Jones. I love the idea of running it behind Darnell Wright. Yes, I know that Nate Davis or even Ryan Bates is going to be out there, but I feel like that needs to be the spot that we run because I'd rather go against Hunter than Anderson, who's been a very, very good run and pass defender. So still, you want to kind of try to run it up, but get some more running right plays out there, please, because we only basically ran left last week. So that's something that I do want to see as well. And even their linebackers, Al-Shaair, kind of an okay linebacker, but 2020, and of course it's like I can hear his name in my head, just can't say it properly. He had a good game last week, but really kind of stepped up his performance last week. He was a top 20 linebacker according to PFF. He was the 15th with 78 grade, but good run stuff. Good player overall. The big question was just his overall speed, running like a 4.6 40 in the NFL Draft Combine. So those are people to just at least look out for. But come on, Swift, we gave you all this money. You gotta prove me wrong, because I did not like that signing. Prove me wrong. Come on, show me what you can do in the running game. Show me what you can accomplish, because come on, you got to do something. Because if they gave you all this money, show us that you're better than Khalil Herbert when the ball's in his hand. Show me that you're better than Velus. Show me that you're better than all these other running backs that we have back there. Show me that you're worth that money, because we need the running game so that it's not all on Caleb Williams. So please, that to me is the biggest thing that they have to do on the offensive side of the ball. Establish the run. Like, just if you can get some yards on the ground, that's what you need. That's what you need to just get the job easier for Caleb Williams. But let's talk about this passing attack. We've already talked a lot about Caleb Williams, what we're hoping to see out of him, that we do need to attack it deep, but things could be a challenge if you only have Keenan Allen out there and DJ Moore. Or, God forbid, if it's just DJ Moore. Now it's going to be different. But to me, no matter what it is, show me more 2 tight end sets, period. End of story. Show me that. Show me more Cole Kmet. Show me more Gerald Everett. Show me them both out there frequently, because since your wide receivers are banged up, put these big guys in. Let them be out there. You have one of the best tight end rooms in the NFL. Use it. Use them so that you have these bigger players. But also, you can still attack deep with your wide receivers, still attack deep with your tight ends. You can still do creative things with these players because they're good. They're fast. That's what you can do with them for sure. But also with Swift, have him run some routes. That's what makes him so good out of the backfield as well. Those are things that I'm looking out for this offense overall. Try to attack them. Try to get those tight ends involved. They're the biggest people out there. They should be some pretty easy targets for you as well to get the ball to. But let's see what y'all are saying out there as well. Defense beats the Titans is what Ron's saying. Skokes, what's good, my friend? Hope you're doing well. But also, J2K, hope you're doing well too, my friend. Saying Anderson is playing hurt. He's playing, but he's a shadow of himself. I hope so, man. Like, I hope he's not playing as well as he was last year. You know, former defensive rookie of the year. Broski saying too, Darnell Wright was made his name in college by shutting down Anderson. That is right. It really was. It was that game where they're like, man, you're going against this bull rusher and just absolute dominance out there. And Hunter, good DN, but not the pass rusher that scares you. He also jumps off very quick. Remember, that's kind of like how he wins. Similar to like a Robert Quinn, he's going to try and beat you with that first step. So that actually opens up another thing. Try the cadence. Try the fun cadence, the different cadences out there. Yeah, you're going away, but why not try and throw that in? Hunter's going to try and jump it. You're going to need some sort of cadence out there. And please, Shane Waldron, get the calls out faster to your quarterback so everyone can set up. Then you can get the cadence down, everything like that. There's a couple plays that kind of a little slow on the whole calling the play in as well. But also Colin Johnson needs to be activated is what Joe's saying. Agreed. I would also love to see it too, because you're talking about Caleb Williams on the sidelines, with the HBO Max show saying Colin's going to make the team, and DJ Moore going, nah, right? Like, he's not going to make the team. I'd love to see him out there. I'd love to see him throw that ball. And like we said too, Colin Johnson is a good person to kind of replace a Rome Odunze if he cannot go, if you want to give him that week of rest too. But also too, J2K saying Scott will have a game. He's a speedster. I hope he does. I get nervous about it, but yeah, if you want to attack deep, that's your guy. That's your guy right there. He's built for that. And then Texans run a lot of nickel single high. They also blitz a lot. True that. They'll run some blitzes. They'll try and get you. And also too, they have some pretty decent corners out there. Like we said, they have the rookie, but also Derek Stingley Jr., pretty good corner. And then, Lassiter on the other outside spot. That's where I'd love to have, our corners out there. I mean, I'd love to have our true wide receivers because you can beat these corners. Jalen Petrie, he's been an okay slot defender, but also their safeties. Jimmy Ward. I know his cousin, so I can't talk ill of Jimmy Ward, just in case if my friend Kevin's watching. But no, Jimmy Ward, he did have a bad game last week. He's also 33 years old. So the question is always, are the wheels going to fall off or anything like that with Jimmy? But also when Bullock was in, their safety, the 6'3 safety from USC, very good. Looked good in that small sample size. But then Murray, their other safety, just a solid, okay safety. That's where you can attack them deep. They're going to try to beat you up front. You can attack this secondary. You can pass this deep. So things that we did not do well last week, we have to do in order to win. So that's going to be the problem of the week. So let's talk about, though, the key matchup that I'm looking out for and also X factors. So let me know what you think. Who's your key matchup on the offense, on the Bears offense versus this defense, and who is your X factor? Because to me, my matchup to watch out for on this offensive side of the ball, oh man, I got to say that the matchup to watch out for is going to be Braxton Jones versus Will Anderson. Because if he can lock that down, if he can do well, then this is a different game. Because Darnell Wright was one of the best pass protectors last week. I think we all forgot that Harold Landry exists, right? A lot of us now right now are going, wait, Harold Landry? Oh yeah, that's right. He's on the Titans. Yeah. Is he good? Yeah, he's good. But he was locked down by Darnell Wright. Darnell Wright cooked him. Braxton Jones, to me, that is going to be the big ultimate, a big decider. Because if he can do well, there should not be that much pressure up the middle. There shouldn't. So that's going to be the big thing. But that leads me to my X factor. Because something that we have not talked about. My biggest X factor, my biggest player as the X factor is Coleman Shelton. Why Coleman Shelton after I said that we shouldn't be giving up big plays? Because this Texans team, because their interior is kind of bad, they will hit you with stunts. And we saw how the stunt completely baffled Coleman Shelton. We can't be just tricked by these stunts. Like, it's a basic, simple move that people run all the time. It seems like whenever we run stunts now, they never really seem to work. That's the thing that they're going to try to hit you with. Coleman Shelton needs to call it out as the center inside of the pass protection. You're the veteran center. You should be able to call that out, and the team should work well around you to then pick that up. The reason why I'm going all offensive line is because if this line, if they can stop Danielle Hunter and they can stop Will Anderson or like put them in check, then everything else should open up. Now you have more time with Caleb Williams. Now you can get the run game going and other things like that. That's why you got to win in the trenches. We can't be having another post game, talk about this and say, well, it's Coleman Shelton and Tevin Jenkins let everybody through because they did. We can't be having that. We have to stop them. We have to do that. Just plain and simple. And J2K say it too, if Caleb doesn't turn it over, our defense gives me faith. That's another thing too. Limit the turnovers, limit the mistakes for sure. And Broski's saying biggest thing is no turnovers. Yeah, the defense has to get two turnovers. Yeah, probably the biggest overall thing. Win that turnover battle. You win the turnover battle, we might have a chance against this elite team. But let's go into everybody's favorite subject, the special teams review. And for those out there on YouTube, I was going to post a picture of Velus, but just for you, the people, I didn't. And if you're still watching, make sure to drop a like just for the fact that I did put a picture of Velus Jones as the one for special teams. Instead, Ryan Poles. Thought that y'all would like that a little bit more than Velus Jones. But the story of special teams, unfortunately, is a one Velus Jones. Is he going to be back out there? Is he going to be inactive? What are they going to do with him? Personally, I'd like to see him inactive. You saw what DeAndre Carter can do at kick return and punt return. You saw that. Khalil Herbert is also a good kick returner. Like, yeah, he's not going to be the greatest kick returner of all time, but he always got good yards for you. So to me, like, why? I think that's the point now. It's just why. And if they really feel like they can, I hope he bobbles it and it goes right to DeAndre Carter. That's what I hope that happens. I hope he kicks it straight to DeAndre Carter so he can return it and there's no turnovers and we go, yeah, we can't do that anymore. Our heart can't take it anymore. So yeah, Shy Drax saying as long as Velus doesn't catch special teams, we'll be good, right? Like that's the whole piece. Keep up the kicks, keep up the punts with Torrey Taylor. They do have Tommy Townsend, who is a good punter, so he's going to be getting them some good field position. So that is definitely something to look out for. But yeah, I'm thinking inactive for Velus. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm hoping, because kind of send a message. But at the same time, what do you do, right? Maybe if they don't have him inactive, I'm going to blame it on they're trying to trade him. I'm going to try to take the optimistic, make stuff up as I go type of route. Just to try to make myself feel better about it, ladies and gentlemen. So for sure. So let's flip over though. That's the special teams. Let's talk about who has the edge. And I'll run it down this way. I think that when it comes down to our Bears defense versus the offense of the Houston Texans, I think that their running attack is better than our run defense, just because we did not look that great. And until I see us do something different, I'm going to give it to the other team. And I hope that by me giving it to the Texans, that we absolutely stop them. So I'm going to give it over to the Texans for that, and pass defense versus their passing attack. I'm going to give it to their passing attack. This is a very good offense. That's the reason why they get it. So their offense gets both advantages. Now it's our offense versus their defense. Now, the running attack, I think, is kind of in between, because when I look at the running attacks themselves, we should have a better running attack. We just haven't seen it. So I have a similar thought. Until our running attack proves me they can do it, I'm giving it to their running defense. So please prove me wrong and run the ball pretty darn well. And then the other piece too, our passing attack, I can't give it to less than 100 yards, unfortunately, and also banged up wide receivers. It's a clean sweep. The Houston Texans are a good team. They're a very good team. They have the edge. That's why they're also a big favorite in this game. And speaking of favorites, they are a 6.5 point dog. We are a 6.5 point dog. So we always like to just kind of do little bets. These aren't official bets, so please don't be spending your money on them. I don't actually put that much time into these picks. I just kind of look them up beforehand, and I'm like, oh, these are pretty darn close. I'll come up with it as I go. So 6.5 plus 6.5 for the Bears. So I'm curious out there. Is anyone betting on the Bears for the plus 6.5 or the minus 6.5? Because I'll say, I snatched it at plus 7. I did that just because I'm like, I'm a Bears fan. I'll throw $10 on it. If I lose $10, I don't care. Like, I'm doing it for my Bears. I'll be sad. But if we win, I'll be like, yeah, I knew it, right? But I think plus 6, plus 6.5, I think that's a little rich just because of how the Bears played. And it's also at Houston. It's on the road, Sunday Night Football. Now, the only other thing, too, that I'll say is also number one picks as of recent have gone 5-0-1 when covering the spread. So they have on Sunday Night Football. So they have been pretty darn well. But also ultimately they've gone 1-5 in that same span, just straight up. But also too, 91% of the cash is on Houston. So what that usually means is if the cash is on one side, you flip it over. So if 91% of the cash is on Houston, usually you then bet the other side. So that's how the house makes money. Where all the money goes, they typically win so that they can kind of keep it. So if it's 6.5, I'm not betting it. If it's 7, I'm taking the Bears just because touchdown favorites. I think that the Bears do lose by a touchdown. That's actually kind of my prediction with all of this. But also too, over under 45.5 points. I'm going to go under. I think that with defensive teams, I think ultimately it's going to be I think it's going to be under. I think just with these teams, I don't know, part of me wants to say over, but that's going to be a big piece. And then also we have the passing yards for Caleb Williams at 216. I'm going under for that as well, just because not really fully buying it right now, especially with less wide receivers. And DJ Moore, 62.5 receiving yards. I feel like I would go over just because he's going to be the only receiver that they have. So I'm going to go over for that because I think literally all the yards go to DJ Moore. So those are my takes. Those are my little picks out there. That's my feeling. But let's see what everyone's saying out there too. Shy Drac saying must win. Also, let's go over to predictions because I'm also curious too. Your predictions down in the comments. So give me your final score, but also one big bold take that you think is going to happen during this game too. So last week I said 2 sacks from Austin Booker. Turns out we get 2 sacks from Darrell Taylor. Let's go into this. Geek Bear, first off, good afternoon. Hope you're doing well, my friend. And then also Shy Drac saying Bears must win. Houston has the edge, home game and experience. Yeah, for real. Broski saying, is Houston really that good? When we break this down, I'll say this. Their defense isn't as good as I thought. Because like you hear like the whole D'Amico Ryans and everything like that. I think their defense isn't going to be this dominant force. I think that's the big thing. I think their offense is good. I think their offense is up there. But defense, that's where I'm kind of like, no more. Also saying no more Bayless was the top 5 returner talk. I won't, okay? You had me on that. I won't say that anymore. Because he was. Stats-wise. The whole dropping and fumbling thing, man. He was also top 5 in that too, unfortunately, my friend. Right? But let's see. So let's see what y'all predictions are. Ron, my friend, saying 35-17 Bears win. I hope. That's what I hope. That's what we all want. Joe saying if we lose, but offense looked 100 times better, it will sting less. I agree. I do think that exactly. Because everybody and their mothers said that we would lose this game. And actually, I remember in my predictions when I was going through it, I said that this is a winnable game. Because I hear everybody saying that the Houston Texans are this absolute juggernaut. Like I said, I think that they're a top 10 team, but it's kind of like Cole Kmet with the top 10 tight ends, where he's right on that outside, that kind of 8-9 spot. Very good. Very good. But it's still a winnable game, like we were just talking about. The defense is solid. The offense is good. So if our defense can stop their offense and our offense can be good, boom, that's it. So it's definitely not like going into Kansas City or how the Bears were back in the day when they would have to go against Tom Brady and the Patriots, where good night, we're just going to get our butts handed to us every single time by Belichick. That's how it always felt, right? But let's see. Brad, how about an all 22 video show? I was thinking about that too. I was actually debating on doing something like that. I'll have to see, because the analytics thing, the metrics thing, I'm actually going to kind of change that around. I thought I went a little bit longer than I expected because it was like a half-hour show. I'll probably shorten those up a little bit. But yeah, maybe. I've been debating that. I've been kicking that idea around just to kind of like highlight a specific player. Or there's certain plays that I watch on tape that I'm like, I want other people to see this. And I don't really have a spot that I can show people this. Actually, I do. I have a YouTube show. So I was debating on that. I might end up doing that. But let's see. Broski's saying Bears win 27-24. Joe's saying Texans linebackers are their weak spot. It really is. And then also Texans fans feel they are vulnerable to Bears tight ends. I liked hearing that too. Like, we have 2 good tight ends. Use them. Like, they're huge mismatches. And that's what was frustrating about not seeing Cole Kmet out there as much as he should have been. But with the injuries at wide receiver, they better be out there 100% of the time now, those tight ends. So my feeling is, man, I'm going to do the flip of what happened. I'm going to do 23-16. Bears lose. That's what I'm going to go with. I think that ultimately the Bears lose this. Bold take. DJ Moore, 120 yards. I'm going to say that just because wide receivers, I think, like I said, maybe they say, let's switch it up. Just throw DJ the ball. Every time you throw DJ the ball, good things happen. Like, just do that. Just give him the ball. He'll make it happen. Just don't overthink it. You don't have many weapons now. Just throw it to him. So he's the healthy one. Keep feeding him. That's my bold prediction. But let's see. Shy Jack saying 33-24. Bears going to get a safety. Wow. That is a bold prediction. But I got to say, I love that y'all are picking the Bears, because that is what I want to see. That's what we all want to see out there. And Broski's saying bold take. Bears have 5 sacks. That's his bold take. That is bold. But we said this last game too with the Titans that, hey, it looked like they could have easily had more than 3 sacks that they came away with. They were constantly in Levis's face. So that could happen. But this is a good offensive line, and we won't have the benefit of the defensive, or like the left tackle and right tackle. But still, we went against a good interior. I think that this interior is maybe even a step back from what we saw against the Titans, because I like the Titans' interior offensive line, but the Bears liked it even more. It kept getting by them. So I still think like the interior, as long as Walker can go, yeah, I think that they could get some of that pressure right up the middle. Hopefully Sweat gets back and can kind of beat Howard. But let's see, Mr. Geeky Bear saying the Titans secondary didn't look good the first game. It'd be great to see them do something out there. Bears 24-17. Our D is really good. Nothing like it in the AFC. Yeah, the deep ball, right? Caleb is known for making these crazy plays, these crazy Houdini plays. That would be so much fun to see. Just gigantic deep ball out to DJ Moore. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm hoping for sure. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is the preview show. So if you haven't already, drop a like, subscribe, comment. It helps out the show tremendously. Let your friends know about the show too, because after the game, we'll be going live at around 7:30 just to kind of break down what we saw during the game. And then on Monday, I'm going to try and get that analytics show up for all of you. And yeah, maybe an all 22 analysis, just some of my favorite plays. Because yeah, that seems to do well for others as well. And yeah, whenever I watch the tape, it's always those, this looks nice. This looks nice. This is a cool play. So I'll see what I end up doing. But with that, have a great rest of your night. And Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair, and you know that she's a